So Dune Awakening just announced a public test client. This will allow you to experience new content ahead of time so that they can test issues and get player feedback. This comes with a lot of new changes, and this blog is pretty extensive. You'd be excused for not really wanting to read through it in its entirety. I'll leave a link in the video description if you want to do so. However, we'll break it down nice and simple and cover some points that you may be interested in. First of all, they're removing the restriction from moving to other sietches. You can now properly go there and actually build. So if you want to join some friends on a different sietch, you can now do so. They'll be adding 3 unique weapon schematics to this NPC, the Harco Village Weapon Vendor. There were some tooltip updates here with different skills, such as the Sentinel ability saying deploy, range information on weirding steps, duration information on suspender pads, and underslung weapons no longer being able to be used from the passenger seat of a vehicle. Some changes on some abilities. Suspender Dash will cost 20% of maximum power instead of just 75. That does mean you won't be able to spam it as much when you have a higher level power pack, but you'll be able to use it more when you have a lower level power pack. They reduced the poise damage resistance from Thrive on Danger 34% down from 50. This is simply for balancing so you don't end up with over 100% poise damage resistance. Center of mass and marksman technique. They will now clarify that they do apply when your enemy has shields with regards to the body damage. You won't be able to use melee attacks so easily in gravity fields. In terms of vehicles, they improved the interaction so you can interact more easily from different angles, and they added a fail safe so that ground vehicles won't get stuck in flipped state, and exiting ornithopters mid-air will have them drop straight down instead of gliding endlessly. For balancing, they've updated anti-gravity fields so that if you are stationary when they get put on you, you'll still be able to move out of them. For world building and exploration, again, the sandworms will linger around for a bit more at spice fields, so it will be a little bit more risky. And yes, that PvE area in the deep desert has now been expanded from A to E. That's 4 more rows. Normally, it's just A that's PvE. This massively increases the area where there's PvE, but still, the deep desert is huge, and this just means there is now an actual possibility to get Stravidium and Titanium as a PvE player. The majority of good resources will still just come from PvP, and you may want to venture out a little bit further for that. Control points in the deep desert are now PvP areas. As for the user interface, they added a keybind so you can change the take quick loot setting rather than having it on spacebar. You can unfavorite items from the inventory loadout by pressing T again. Your compass will now consistently show a colored line to represent what zone you're in. So currently it would be like gold for PvE and it should be red for PvP. It wasn't always displaying that. There'll be additional steps when you want to delete your character, and you can now report other messages from the text chat. As for graphics and animations, they just improved the lighting a bit for like Rex, improved lip syncing for NPCs, a bunch of changes here with audio too, like with the blood purifier, volume of ornithopter engine start, new sounds for spice bloom geysers. Then there's a ton of fixes with technical and stability. Default respawn location will be on your current map rather than having you go to a different map and lose everything. There'll be a death location marker that will appear if you die while offline. Melee hits can no longer critically hit. You won't be able to use knee charge on civilians. The Sentinel turret won't attack your solid decoy, the Mirage. Players will no longer lose 1 skill point when respecking the skill tree, and you'll no longer lose the learnt emotes when respecking. They fixed some collision issues with the sandworm. As for world building and exploration, you'll no longer lose full radiation when you log out. Friendly fire with rockets, it will now be reduced by 25%. This will be when you're shooting at allies who are in the same party. Fix an issue where the threat worm indicator was stuck at max. As for story, journey, and new player experience, a bunch of camera adjustments. Fix an issue where dew reapers weren't harvesting water, and fixed an issue with the assassin's journey where you weren't able to progress. And then there's a ton of user interface fixes here too. And then also a load of graphic, animation, and visual effects fixes. Mostly just minor things. Similarly for audio and some other things. With a repeat of, you don't lose radiation when you log out. So all you really need to know from this is a ton of bug fixes, tooltip updates, the ability to move between sieges and now be actually able to claim land on those other sieges, building bases, some slight ability balancing here, and some fixes to getting stuck with vehicles. Again, that massive PvE area with regards to the deep desert. There will now be a whole of 4 more rows. Some of you PvP enthusiasts would be all doom and gloom about that, but I will say the deep desert's massive, and those first 5 rows really are sparse in terms of player resources. Yes, you still will be able to get some extra resources, whereas before you could not, like Stravidium and Titanium as a PvE player, but not nearly as much as if you just went a bit further out into the PvP zone. You can see the full size of the deep desert here. It's normally 9 tiles by 9 tiles. Originally, just this A row was PvE. Now that's going to extend all the way to E. This makes it far easier to play the extraction mode if you did want to go into the PvP area, as the distance now from, say, this PvE line to the furthest reaches of the deep desert is only 4 tiles. Significantly less than going from A all the way, which was 8 tiles. Again, for PvE, it's a good thing. You will at least be able to get some deep desert resources without having to fear of the conflict of other players. And for the most part, for PvP, the loot concentration will still be within the PvP area. It just will be a bit harder to control and to patrol because, again, the PvE area will be much closer to the hotspots of the loot in PvP. I could build my base on the E row. I'm safe here in PvE, and then simply make short extractions out into the PvP zone and be less likely to encounter other players because my time in the deep desert would be much shorter, although you could argue players would be less spread out. We'll have to see what happens. You can of course leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear your takes. I did have some fun with regards to the threat of PvP and playing that extraction mode myself. I never got taken down as a solo player, and I've managed to gather plenty of resources, even having already my carrier ornithopter, the large ore refinery, and the large spice refinery. So I have nearly pretty much completed the game in that regard. I just have to go back, finish leveling up, and it's simply a game for me now to collect all these tier 6 unique weapon schematics, which will require you to get those loot ships, get those wrecks, and do those testing stations. There's a lot to collect here, a lot to complete, especially if you want to be trying to get the best stuff. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys around.